Hey everyone! If the Federal Reserve knew on September 18th what would be happening over the following 2 weeks, I wonder if it would have influenced their decision to cut rates by 50 basis points. 8 days after the rate cut, on September 26th, the Category 4 Hurricane Helene made landfall in Florida. Then it cut a swath of destruction across the southeast. The cost of Hurricane Helene, both in terms of lives lost and economic impact, will likely be one of the greatest on record. Then on September 30th, Israeli ground forces entered Lebanon, generating a military response from Iran. One major concern stemming from a Middle East military escalation is the upward pressure it puts on oil prices. Elevated oil prices increase inflation and weigh on economic growth, often a prelude to a recession. And finally, a dock worker strike spanning the entire East and Gulf Coast started on October 1st. The port strike reiterates the vulnerability of U.S. supply chains. A major supply chain disruption, as we learned during the pandemic, has the potential to drive inflation and stall economic growth. This week, I'll focus on the port strike. To set the stage, here are the basics. On October 1st, both inbound and outbound shipping traffic halted at 14 major and 22 smaller ports from Boston to Houston when the International Longshoremen's Association Union declared a strike. And to end the strike, the ILA is demanding a 61.5% wage increase over the 6-year term of the future agreement, and they want restrictions on future port automation. The group on the other side of the negotiating table, the U.S. Maritime Alliance, is predominantly run by international shipping companies. They offered a 50% wage increase and a continuation of the existing technology integration rules. In a recently produced video, ILA President Harold Daggett reiterated the economic ripple effect of shutting down the ports. He highlighted how the port strike will impact the auto industry, the retail industry, the construction industry, and the economy at large. And quite frankly, what he said is largely true in my opinion. An estimated 60% of consumer goods come to the U.S. by ship. But the effects go far beyond consumer goods. The strike could stall out the importation of some types of food, as well as raw materials used in manufacturing, farming, and construction. And it will stall the delivery of a wide range of tools, equipment, and equipment parts. At the same time, the port strike will restrain exports, taking a heavy toll on U.S. farmers, meat producers, auto manufacturers, and so on. So this port strike has significant economic implications in the U.S. and ultimately on a global scale. The estimated economic impact for the U.S. ranges considerably depending on the model and what's included, but I'm seeing estimates of weekly losses ranging from $4 billion to $7 billion. And the longer the strike continues, the worse the consequences will be. They'll compound over time. It's estimated that it takes 5 to 7 days to unravel the effects of just 1 day of port closure. So a week-long strike will take about a month to sort out. And that's a big part of why a major port strike is so dangerous. It can literally create both an inflation problem and a recession. For commercial real estate, a very short strike will have a limited effect. But the good news is that most experts believe the strike will be relatively short. The ILA wants to flex its muscles, get a big payoff, and guarantee its future work by limiting automation. For the U.S. Maritime Alliance, this will boil down to dollars and cents. And consider that the U.S. is both the world's biggest consumption market and the world's second biggest goods exporter. So the cost of shutting down half the shipping capacity of the U.S. is probably a lot more expensive than capitulating to the Union. But as the port strike clouds the airwaves, investors need to remember, commercial real estate operates on a long-term investment cycle, and this port shutdown is likely just a blip from the long-term perspective. Although the strike is capturing headlines today, it'll likely have a minimal impact on real estate over the long term, which is one more reason investors need to keep their eyes on the horizon.